Hi, I'm Jocelyn Hagen, and I'm a composer based in Minnesota. I write music for choirs and orchestras. I write multimedia symphonies, and I've written a dance opera. I have had a very musical childhood. I grew up in North Dakota and come from a musical family. My mother was my piano teacher growing up, so I started playing the piano at a very early age. I was about 3. And then I also was lucky enough to be surrounded by my family singing during all the holidays. Every time we would get together, the guitar or would come out, or we'd get around the piano and we'd sing. And my mother has 2 sisters, and so I grew up listening to her sing in 3-part harmony with her 2 sisters. So vocal music has always been a huge part of my life. I've been singing in harmony since I was a little one, and I have cousins who I would sing in harmony with. One of my recent projects was a very large project that lasted about 4 years from the moment that I conceived of the idea until it was actually premiered. And that was my first multimedia symphony called The Notebooks of Leonardo da Vinci. And I composed it for SATB choir and orchestra or chamber ensemble and video projections. Uh, Leonardo da Vinci is a fascinating person, and almost everybody knows who he is and knows the Vitruvian Man and the Mona Lisa. And so he's a very intriguing personality. And I was lucky enough to see some of his notebook pages on display at the Minneapolis Institute of Art and just fell in love with them. They were absolutely stunning. He wrote so tiny on these pages, and they are so thin now because they are so old. But he drew and sketched all sorts of different things in these notebooks, and also talked about engineering and all the things he was going to invent, and then also just sketches of people and beautiful places. And so I knew that this would be a great subject for a multimedia symphony because I could take his words, I could take the text, and I could set that for the choir to sing. And I set it in various English translations of his work. And then I knew I had all this amazing material from the notebooks in terms of visual imagery, because those images are in the public domain. I was able to use them and animate some of them. And I hired a few filmmakers to take these wonderful pieces of art and create videos with them. So it was a very, very exciting project, and I couldn't be more proud of it. And there's really nothing else out there like it. In 2019, it was the 500th anniversary of Leonardo da Vinci's death. So that was another good reason to do it now. And what's so wonderful about it is that it was premiered here in Minnesota in March. And but throughout 2019 and even through 2020, it's going to receive performances all across the country by all these different groups that signed on to be a part of the project. So this was how I was able to fund it, which was really great because creating a work that large, it's about 35 minutes long, and to have visuals running throughout was a huge endeavor, and very expensive. So I'm just lucky and happy to have seen it come to fruition. One of the things I absolutely love about my work is that it's constantly changing. Every project is different, and they all come to be in kind of a different way. I often start here at the piano because I'm a pianist. But for example, right now I'm also writing a piece for Cantabile Youth Chorus out in California. And for that piece, I'm collaborating with a choreographer. And so we are actually going to go and travel to California in a few weeks and spend time with the ensemble and come up with our ideas at the same time and test them out on the ensemble, which I'm really excited about. I've done that before with a small group of people, and it was partially how we created our dance opera collaboration test pilot. But this is the first time that I'm doing it with a choir, and that's really exciting. And Cantabile was very excited about this idea because the commission is part of their 25th anniversary season, and they are going to be performing the piece at the World Choral Symposium in New Zealand. So I've got a good job ahead of me this year. one of the things they never teach you in school for composition is how to actually make a living as a composer once you graduate. And so you kind of have to invent your own way of doing business and way of living as a composer. So for me, I write a lot of music. That is my main source of income, but I also write a lot of grants. And then I also publish my own music. And Timothy C. Takash and I also started a publishing company called Graphite Publishing that publishes the work of other composers and also distributes the work of other self-published composers. So my income revenue comes from many, many different sources, but that actually works really well for me. And because if you're thinking about, oh, you've got all these jobs going, but if one of those jobs falls away for a while or doesn't happen for a while, you still have these other sources of income. So I know my parents were really scared for me, thinking, oh, she's going to try and make it as a full-time artist. That's quite something to do, and they were really nervous for me. But I've found a way to really make it work for me and to be able to have a family. My work does involve quite a bit of travel, which I didn't really foresee. But I love that. I love getting to hear my work performed all around the world, and it's a real blessing. So I absolutely love what I do. And if you can find something that you wake up every morning and say, gosh, I can't wait to go get started on that today, then that's what you need to do. And that's what composing was for me. One of the great ways to develop your craft as a composer is to work with the same group over and over again. When I was in my 20s, I was a composer in residence for the Singers, which was a wonderful opportunity because not only was I writing for them every year, but I was also singing in the ensemble. And so I really understood the intricacies of writing for choir and what they were capable of and what worked really well, what didn't work very well. And so I had that relationship with the Singers for about 10 years, and I grew immensely as a composer during that process. Anytime that a composer can come in and really work with an ensemble besides just coming in for a performance or one rehearsal or the dress rehearsal and then a performance is really valuable for the composer, because we get to get our hands dirty a little bit more, maybe try some things that we are not exactly sure how to put on paper yet. And that's also what I did with a piece called Hummingbird. This was written for North Dakota State University, and it has a fabulous YouTube video that you should look up. But it was a collaboration between myself and Spearfisher, who's an electronic musician and composer that I sometimes collaborate with. And that's exactly what we did. We came in 3 or 4 times throughout the year to record the ensemble, have them try all these new special techniques. And in the end, we created this 10-minute long, it's almost like a choral symphony with electronics that really sounds different from anything else I've ever created. And I'm immensely proud of that work. But we never would have gotten to that place if we hadn't been able to sit in on all those choral rehearsals and try some things out. Technology changes everything, and it's been really fascinating to see how technology has impacted the music publishing world. I remember when we started Graphite Publishing in 2006, we were selling PDFs online, and so many people thought we were crazy because they said, well, won't everyone just photocopy that music as soon as they download it? And we thought, well, don't a lot of people just photocopy regular sheet music whenever they want it? We decided to trust that most people want to do the right thing, and it has paid off. Now, J.W. Pepper and even all the big publishers, most of them now offer PDF downloads for all that music, and so we were just ahead of the curve on that. But it was kind of gutsy deciding to do that, and it took a while for the business to grow. It's been 13 years now, and the growth in the last couple years has been really astounding and fun to watch. So it's working. And just so you know, if you're a choral educator and you're looking for great sheet music, going to a source like Graphite Publishing or an actual composer's website like JHmusic, JocelynHagen.com, or Abby Bettina's music company. If you go directly to those websites and order the music directly from them, the artist is able to take home a lot more income. So if you're interested in supporting those artists, that's a great way to do it. Another great way to support composers in a related way is to let them know when you're performing the work and send them a PDF of the program, because then we take those and we submit those performances to ASCAP and can get royalties from them. So, and this is all a great way to just strengthen that relationship between the composer and the conductor anyway. We like being connected, and we like knowing when our music is being performed, and we like doing Skype sessions with students. That's the best part of our job, is connecting with the people who are actually making the music. One of my biggest challenges is negotiating my fee as a composer. It's a tough thing to negotiate, and I hate putting a number on my work, and I don't necessarily love that process of going back and forth over a contract. But over the years, I've decided that it's a skill that's worth developing, and something that I should lean into and get used to doing, because I think in your life, there's never going to be a time when there isn't something that you want and you realize you need help from others to get it. And so learning how to ask for what you want and how to negotiate for what you want is just an incredible skill. And so as much as I don't like doing it, being a freelance composer has forced me to develop that skill, and that's probably a good thing. There are so many people to thank who helped me become the composer I am today. First off, my family, and especially my mother, who was my first piano teacher and who always encouraged me to improvise and to write things and be creative. I have to give a special shout out to my dad as well, who also lugged all my equipment everywhere, as a horn player and as someone who was in a band. And my parents are still some of my biggest fans. They fly out to a lot of my performances, so I'm very grateful for that support. But also the rest of my family, who continues to make music with me to this day when we're together. I value and treasure that so much. I've also had some incredible composition teachers. Peter Hamlin was my first composition teacher at St. Olaf, and he was just so encouraging, and just basically told me, yes, go, do more, keep going. And I think that's the best thing you can hear from a beginning composition teacher. If you're hearing too much criticism right away, you can think, oh, I'm not ready to be a composer. This is not something I can do. But if you're constantly hearing, yes, go for it, keep doing it, then I think you're more likely to keep going for it. I also had Timothy Marr as an instructor, and he was fabulous. He also commissioned me right after I graduated from St. Olaf, so I'll never forget that. And then, of course, Matthew Culleton with the Singers, who was my conductor and who helped me with the residency with the Singers. And I learned so much from him in so many ways. And he was probably one of the first big champions of my music in the choral world. And I'll always be grateful for that. There are also organizations that have been super helpful. Judy Cope and the Sorrell organization out of New York brought my oratorio A Mass to New York City, at Lincoln Center, something I'll never forget. For my collaborators who push me artistically, Penelope Free, the choreographer and dancer, Timothy C. Cash. We've written an oratorio together called This Is How You Love, and Spear Fisher, and Dessa, who is a hip hop artist, a rapper. You should look her up. She's awesome. But yeah,